Mr. President, I'm now shifting to my regular We the People speech, a series of speeches in which I try to raise issues that go to the heart of the framing of our Constitution and the vision of creating a republic that has a government responsive to the concerns of citizens throughout our nation. Our founders started the Constitution with three powerful words: we the people. They wrote them in a font 10 times the size of the balance of the Constitution, as if to say, this is what it's all about. This is our goal. As President Lincoln summarized, a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. It was not the plan of our founders in writing the Constitution to have a government designed to serve the ruling elites. It was not the design of our Constitution to serve the titans of industry and commerce. It was not the intention of our founders to build a government to serve the best off, the richest in our society. Quite the contrary. So I'm rising periodically to address issues related to this vision, this beautiful revolution, the American Revolution that sought to have a form of government that served the people, not the elite. And this week I'm using my speech to recognize the anniversary of two Supreme Court decisions, two decisions which have driven a stake through the heart of our We the People democracy. One ruling, Buckley versus Vallejo, marked its 40th anniversary last Saturday on January 30th. And Citizens United marked its 6th anniversary on January 21st. These two decisions have forever altered the vision of our government. They have turned our government on the head. They have changed it from we the people to we the titans. And it is my hope that citizens will rally together in this country, that senators and House members will rally together to defend the Constitution that they are sworn to uphold, that was not a we the titans Constitution, it was a we the people Constitution. Central to the promise of we the people is the right to participate in an equal footing, to contribute one's opinions and insights on elections and on issues. President Jefferson called this the mother principle. He summarized it as follows, and I quote, "For let it be agreed that a government is republican in proportion as every member comprising it has an equal voice in the direction of its concerns, by representatives chosen by himself and responsible to him." Let me emphasize again, republican in proportion as every member composing it has an equal voice in its direction. The decision made by Buckley and Citizens United are direct assault on this fundamental understanding that to have a we the people republic, you have to have citizens able to participate on a roughly equal footing. These two decisions bulldozed the we the people pillar on which our government is founded. President Lincoln echoed Jefferson's equal voice principle. He said, and I quote, "Allow all the governed an equal voice in the government, and that only is self-government." Is there anyone in this chamber who believes that today all the governed have an equal voice in the government? I'm sure that no one among our 100 senators would contend that that principle, so eloquently laid out by President Jefferson, so resoundingly echoed by President Lincoln, so deeply embedded in the founding words of our Constitution, is true today. And it's not true because Buckley versus Vallejo found that individuals could spend unlimited sums to influence issues and the outcome of elections. That decision and Citizens United destroyed the notion that all citizens get to participate on an equal footing. by greenlighting the spending of unlimited sums in combination with the high cost of participating in the modern town square, that is, to secure time on radio, time on television, time on the web, or space on the web. These decisions give the wealthy and well-connected control of the town commons and the ability to drown out the voice of the people. Certainly, a situation where the top 10% can overwhelm, can drown out the 90% is not we the people governance. Certainly, a situation where the top 1% can drown out the 99% is not we the people governance. It is the opposite. As President Obama said, quote, "Democracy breaks down when the average person feels that their voice doesn't matter." And that's how people feel when they are drowned out by the few under the framework established by Buckley versus Vallejo and Citizens United. The most basic premise of our Constitution is that influence over elections means influence over governance. That is the whole point. Influence over elections is not limited just to being in the booth and pulling a lever. When you enhance the voices of the wealthy relative to everyone else, you fundamentally shift the outcome of legislative deliberations. Despite the plaintiffs in Buckley versus Vallejo's arguments, the wealthy do not have the same concerns about this nation, about their lives, that everyone else has. They don't have the same concern about the cost of college. They don't have the same concern about paid family leave. They don't have the same concern about the solvency and adequacy of Social Security. They're not worried. They're not staying up nights about the health of their child and concern over the cost and quality of health care. And they're not disturbed over policies that ship our manufacturing jobs overseas and eviscerate the working middle class in America. And yet here we have it. Buckley versus Vallejo takes this small percentage of folks who do not have concerns that reflect the vast majority of Americans and gives them overwhelming power in elections and issues. Let me ask you, is it any wonder that the middle class is doing poorly while the wealth of America has grown exponentially? Isn't that what one would expect in a system favoring the wealthy over the workers? Can we be a government of, by, and for the people if individuals at the very top have vastly greater influence over elections and policy than others? Our Constitution says no. Our founders said no. But Buckley versus Vallejo and Citizens United said, no, yes, and they're wrong. The campaign finance system that gives the most affluent massive influence over elections with concomitant control over laws, we don't have a government that embodies President Jefferson's mother principle, that is, one that reflects and executes the will of the people. So it's time to change this. It's time to recapture the genius of American governance. And it's time to restore the we, the people principles so eloquently and powerfully embedded in the framing of our Constitution. Thank you, Mr. President.